tip before you quit your job, open up every line of credit, every HELOC, everything you can get. So I had credit available to me at low interest rate, 75% of what I had open to me in lines of credit, and I loaned it.
Welcome to the Golden Nuggets of Real Estate Investing, a podcast dedicated to helping you achieve financial freedom through real estate. We'll be discussing the most important lessons, or better known as the Golden Nuggets of Real Estate Investing, entrepreneurship, and personal finance with new and experienced investors to help you get into real estate investing or scale up your portfolio. So make sure to tune in. What's going on, everyone? It's Ross Nadai. I'm a real estate agent, an investor, and host of the Real Estate Golden Nuggets podcast. I have an amazing episode full of golden nuggets for you. If you like this podcast and gotten any value out of it, please share this far and wide to reach as many people as possible. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave me a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, leave me a comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can stay up to date on the most recent episodes. Thank you so much for your support.
So literally two or 3 weeks after I leave my job, she gets a phone call on April 1st from her employer saying, unfortunately, we have to downsize a little bit because COVID's really hit us hard, and we're going to have to let you go. So that was on April 1st, and they gave her 2 weeks notice.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah. So that, and at this point, it's like, all right, I can't go back to my employer because that cord has been cut.
Yeah.
So it was just a little bit of okay, wake up call. Now we got to figure this out. Now,
Yeah.
the good news is that my spreadsheet, where I've been tracking all of the cash flow, what we need, I had been planning it this way all along, right? So when I was talking about what my net take-home pay was from my work,
Right.
I also had my wife's net take-home pay, and I knew the total, as a family household income was coming in every month. So I knew the magic number.
Right.
And I knew, and I was plotting out I had the list of my properties over here, private lending over here. Here's the money coming in. Here's the gap. This is the number I'm solving for. I need to close that gap, right?
Right.
I'm like, all right, a couple more properties, 3-4 more properties. We'll be fine, right? We're gonna get there.
Yep.
Anyway, so she lost her job, and then what I did is, I kind of sprung into action. I told you I did some private lending.
Yep.
Well, I did a little bit of private lending before. When she lost her job, I ramped it up. So I went and I maxed out. I shouldn't say maxed out. I went to every line of credit that I had available to me, and because sidebar tip: before you quit your job, get every line of credit you can. Open up every line of credit, every HELOC, everything you can get access to it, because it's hard to get after you leave your job.
Right.
So I had that ready to go. So I had credit available to me at low interest rates. So I quickly went to about, I want to say 75% of what I had open to me in lines of credit, and I loaned it. I loaned it out.
Wow.
So making a minor interest payment on those loans, some are like 3.1%. Now they've gone lower since the interest rates dropped since then. So a little bit of an interest payment, but a healthy return every single month on private lending, right? And I use that as kind of my last lever to close that gap to get us to the income we needed to go, okay, we can breathe now. Like, we don't have to panic here. We don't have to go hunting for jobs tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're gonna double down on this little journey that we're on here. So that's what we did. And so that's how we've been running ever since essentially April 15th, when she lost her job. And we've been off to the races. So, and then, through COVID, we bought 6 properties, I think.
Wow.
So 3 of them we sold. So there were some flips in there.
Yeah.
To generate a bit of income along the way.
That's right.
And a couple more rentals. So we've been kind of just keep it going, right? Like, so
yeah.
It was, that was the kind of the key, is like, okay, we're not just going to take our foot off the gas now. Let's now that we have a bit of the flexibility to do what we need to do, let's just give it. What's worst case scenario here? We're gonna have to sell a couple properties to live off of. Okay, then that's what we'll do. But we haven't had to do that. So
that's sweet. Yeah. No, wow. That's a very inspirational story. And then that brings me to my point here, Scott. Here, so one of the benefits of working in a full-time job is the mortgage aspect, right? You can qualify very easily with the A lender, right? So how are you able to manage your properties especially now that you're now, a full-time entrepreneur and you don't have like a corporate job, right? So are you still getting these funds through the banks, or is it private money? How are you funding these deals?
So I'm generally using private money to buy. And I've been doing that, by the way, even the last few deals while I still had a job, just because I like the flexibility to go fast and not have to jump through the hoops to get the approvals. So what I was doing prior to leaving my job, I was buying with private money. And then when I did the refinance after the renovation was done, that's when I would bring in the A lender and put the nice cheap mortgage on it, right?
Right.
So I already become very comfortable with using private lender, paying 8% or whatever on a mortgage. So I've continued to do that. Now, obviously, I can't at the end of a project go and do a nice, 1.8% mortgage with TD Bank or Scotiabank anymore. That they'll laugh me out of the room. So what I've been doing is I've been holding on to the private money a little bit longer. So, and like in some of these situations, if I can make it work, even when I'm holding a private mortgage,
okay,
and I'm holding it for, let's say, a year now, and if the cash flow that I'm getting from the property will pay the private mortgage and the insurance and the property tax, doesn't leave me much left over after that. Well, then I feel like, okay, at least I have an option here, right? I can hold this property. It's expensive,
right,
and I'm going to continue to look for other options where I can refinance at a lower rate. So I recently started down a path of a qualification process for B lenders. So I've got one property coming up for refi in Hamilton in about a month.
Okay.
And so that one is the plan on that one is that we're going to refinance it with a B lender. Now, a B lender right now, we might be pushing 3.5%, 4% interest rate,
right,
which is still very effective, right? So I'm happy to pay those kinds of rates if I can get them. I can cash flow if I can get a 4% rate. The other option is I can always bring in a partner, right? A JV partner. Now, I tend not to do a lot of JVs. I've got a couple of them I've done along the way. I'm not opposed to doing them though, and sometimes it is the right option, right? Where like I am doing one right now where I've got a partner that approached me that wants to do something. We found a property and he's already going through the qualification for an A lender. So that's going to be an option that we're going to hold together for the long run, and it'll be a good cash flowing product or asset. So, but yeah, for me personally, I'm at the phase right now where I have to ride out a couple of years of self-employment before I can actually be considered for an A lender mortgage, I think, right? So I've had some conversations with the banks and with my broker around like how much income I should be reporting on my T1 general and that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of a roadmap to get there. So which is why right now I'm not opposed to doing more flips here and there, which if I find a good deal and if I can't keep it, I'm gonna have to flip it, right? And that's okay. I mean, I can make a bit of money that way too. In the meantime, I'd rather hold it for the long run, but if I can't, I'll sell it. That's okay too. It's fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. And how did you get into like the comfort zone of using private money? Because you mentioned you were able to qualify for A lenders. A lot of us, when we look at private lending, we think, oh God, it's expensive, right? You're looking at a range of anywhere between 10 to 12%, generally speaking, right? So what was your decision to say, you know what, I'm going to pull a trigger on this, even though I can get something for 3% or 4% from a bank, right?
Well, I was first tuned into private money out of a necessity. And it was because a property that I was buying back in 2018, I, for some reason, had a heck of a time getting an approval. It was at the time I was going through CIBC. It was not a great experience, let's put it that way. So I had the property, the closing date was coming up, and they were dragging their heels, and I was freaking out. Like I was on their case constantly. So then I went back to a broker that I had just started working with on another project. And I was like, all right, I'm throwing my hands up here. I'm stuck. I don't know what's going on. I got this property. It's closing literally in like 10 days.
Yeah.
I don't know. And CIBC has given me nothing. And they're like, it was just one of these things where they're just asking me for another document and another document. And now I need a lease they need everything, right? And they didn't accept some of the current leases because they were beyond the 12 month they weren't a new tenant. So then I had to get lease acknowledgements done. And then I did that, and then that wasn't good enough. And it was just out of control bad. So anyways, I threw in the towel. I'm like, get the hell out of here. I can't deal with you guys. So I called the broker. I said, I need your help. She's like, what? Easy. We're going to use private money. We'll close it with private.
Yeah.
And then we'll get you refinanced. We'll probably refinance with RBC, but that'll be when you're done the project, maybe 4 or 5 months.
Right.
I'm like, how does that work? Well, it's going to be like 8%. Yes, there's going to be some lender fees up front. I think it was like a 2% lender fee or something like that. So it blended up to about a 10% cost. And anyways, like in the course of 3 days, I was funded for the project. Boom, here's the money, right?
Right.
And it's like, oh, this was super easy. And then you're making the payments, and then you soon realize that like the payments you make on private money is interest only, right? It's not like principal plus interest.
Correct.
So it's not like overwhelmingly expensive when you see the number you're paying every month, right? Yes, it's more than a mortgage payment is like at a lender.
Right.
It's not as bad as you first like set yourself up to think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But most importantly, it got the job done, right? And you think about it, like for me, it was like, I think I'm going to get this particular project done in less than 5 months. And then I'm going to get the refinance done. And the mortgage broker was parallel pathing the whole time during that 5 months, getting me ready to be approved for an A lender refi, so that we would just hit the ground running. The project would be done. We'd have the appraiser in. We'd get the new mortgage lined up. Private lender gets paid out. Now I got a cheap mortgage in place.
Yeah.
And it worked. It worked like that. Like it actually came together like that, right? And so it really got my eyes opened up to like that actually was pretty easy, right? To be able to just get the money so easily. It wasn't as bad as I thought. When I started factoring in what was the total cost of that 5 months monthly payment that I had to make.
Right.
Maybe I'm trying to remember what the number would have been, but it was probably a couple of grand a month in interest costs, right? Yeah. Maybe a little less than that on that one. And it's like, okay, that wasn't that bad. I billed that as one of the costs in my spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And then when I refinanced it, I got a payout because I got like a nice lift in value. And it just worked, right? So the next 2 that I did the same thing. And in fact, I didn't even try to get approved at first. I just said back to my brokers, let's just do private again. And you know what? Maybe that wasn't the smartest thing financially, but it worked. It allowed me to move with speed. Like I bought 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Where like it was basically where the broker said, just buy. We can get you the money. You don't have to like keep asking, right? Like, we'll get you the money. Just if you want to just buy, come to us when you got the deal. We'll fund it. Like, because they knew where I was buying. They had my my personal background and all that, right? So they knew I was proven.
Yeah.
And so I did like 2 or 3 or 4 in a row, the same model, right? Bang, 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 all private lending. And then I refinanced with an A lender at the end of the project. So it worked. I became comfortable with it. I would do more of them. I continue to do more of them. The one thing I'd say that's changed 18 months or so is I've started raising my own funds now. So I don't even have to go to a broker anymore.
Nice.
Which is it's a little bit cheaper now because I don't have to pay lender fees.
Yep.
So I'll just borrow funds from, friends, family, former coworkers, whatever, right? People that want to get a good return on their money. We'll just do up sometimes we just do a promissory note. Sometimes we'll do it as a registered mortgage.
Yeah.
And I can just raise the cash myself that way. And when you're paying an interest rate monthly, if you're not having to pay all these upfront fees to the broker and all that, it's a little bit easier. It's just a mindset shift, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it's the hurdle that comes in. First thing, like you said, we touched upon it, is just the percentage you see. You see 10 versus 3, but you don't understand that the 3 includes interest. And then there's also, the principal payment. There's 2 types of payment, right? So it's almost like a bit of, I would say, lack of education in a sense for a lot of us, including myself. I had to look into it myself to figure out, oh, you know what? When you think about it, it's not that far off, as you mentioned, from just the A lender, and you don't have to go through the hurdles. And sometimes it's the best way to fund it. Like, why limit yourself to say, you know what, if I can't get an A lender to approve my mortgage, I'm not going to buy a property, right? It's like,
no, there's always a way.
On that
there's
is
always
insane.
A way.
That's right. Like even when you bought those properties, I'm sure they've all appreciated quite significantly over the years. You've already made the money back, and you've already have another piece of land under your portfolio, right? So.
That's right. Yeah. Like if the numbers work, right? And so, and especially if you start buying properties that you intend to flip, well, then you pretty much have to use private money, because the banks, if they catch on to you that you're using a mortgage and then you're flipping it, like, they will ban you. Like, they will not lend to you in the future.
Yeah.
Right. So you pretty much have to be comfortable with using private money for doing flips.
Yeah.
So anyways, it became a mindset thing for me. I mean, I actually really like using private, just because for the speed, the simplicity.
Right.
It's relationship based. People start to trust you. I've got a couple of lenders now that I've done several deals with, where I just bought one recently. I called up a lender and I said, I need 400 grand. They said, I'll put it in your account tonight. I'm like, and literally the next day, it was in my account.
Wow.
Like I didn't even have to like sell them on the deal. Right. I just, like, because they know
your
like,
portfolio.
we have a relationship now. Yeah.
Correct. They don't know what you're about, and they've seen you work. So that, they're feel comfortable with moving forward with you. No problem. And speaking of flips there, what is your model there for flips? Like, give me a sense of, what the criteria are when you look at a property to say, hey, you know what, I can make money out of this, right? And I know what I love about you there, Scott, is that you've done a lot of renovations. Like, you've done like basically from scratch almost, right? So you have a lot of experience now. You understand, if I put a roof, it's going to cost me this much. If I put if I make this adjustment, it's going to cost me this much. So talk me through how the flipping model works, and what is the minimum margins you look for when you're looking at a property.
Yeah. Well, I would say, first of all, I am not a savvy flipper yet, right? I mean, I'm working on that. I want to do more flips to drive more active income. I mean, so I'm still very much a student of flipping, and I went to a conference in the fall, a virtual conference, which is all around flipping. And one of the things that they really spoke about, and I've heard other local flippers talk about, is you got to know your numbers. Like, you got to know what your ARV is, right, so that you want to be paying somewhere around, if you can, up to 60% of what the ARV is. So that's a pretty discounted price if you can find it, right?
Right.
So so 60% of ARV, because that way you've got quite a bit of buffer in there, because when you flip, there's always risk that, like, the market can go sideways on you, right, if you're not careful. So, like, especially now in this market that we're in, like, it's bananas, as you know.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's going to have to level off or potentially take a bit of a dip, right?
Yeah.
So anybody that's flipping has to always kind of be aware of that and be ready for that. But as long as you're buying right, where there's enough margin to what the after repair value should be, even if the market takes a 10% dip, you should still be okay, right?
Yeah.
That's generally what you want to be looking at. Yeah, it's about the buy. It's hard to do flips, I think, when you're looking at properties on MLS in a seller's market, especially because everybody's going way over ask.
Yeah.
So you got to be looking at off-market opportunities. I flipped one in Belleville, which we bought off-market. That was a really, really fast one. It was very much just a quick lipstick flip, and we made a bit of money on it. I mean, it wasn't a massive slam dunk home run. I think we made like $20K or something.
Right.
Which, for 3 weeks for a flip, that's not so bad, I guess, right?
No, not at all.
But I mean, I always hear stories of other flippers that are like, making like, I made 150K on this flip. I'm like, yeah, how do I get one of those?
Right.
So for flips now, I'm looking for properties that are closer to, you hear the term wholesale, where you can buy something wholesale off of a wholesaler, do very, very minimal work, clean it up, get rid of the garbage, maybe paint it, put it back on the market as soon as you can. That's kind of what we did with the Belleville house. Right. And you sell it quickly, right? That to me is the ideal model, but you really got to buy right. That's that. Yeah. If you're not getting the right price off the bat, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
But in a seller's market like right now, people are overpaying, I think, for a lot of properties.
For sure. We're seeing a lot of that.
So if you buy right, it's going to be hard to mess up, I think, as long as you don't over renovate, right? So I'm still refining my formula. I'm always kind of like refining, how do I track this? And yes, I walk through a property that I'm looking at for a potential flip, and I can come up to a renovation budget in my own mind, plus or minus 25K pretty easily. Based on just what's the condition of the mechanicals, Does it need anything cosmetic in the kitchen and the bathrooms? And you kind of get a feel for what that stuff's worth, right? To do it, and the time frame. And I mean, I look at a lot of stuff. I'm constantly looking on like the deals that are coming through wholesalers, and most of the time I just don't see enough margin there. So I'm like, I can't offer on that, right? I mean, I think some people that are that might have their own in-house staff, contractors, it can work a little better because they're not necessarily paying a lift for general contracting fees and things like that. So maybe there's a little bit more upside for folks in that situation. I'm not there, unfortunately. Not yet, anyways. So I don't know. I'm always evaluating. I've got spreadsheets running all the time. I'm just looking at deals, and I find like that's half the fun, right? Is evaluating deals and trying to get comps and saying, can I make money on this? Nope. Move on. So
So for these properties, I know the one thing is getting the right price, but then don't you also like consider the market fundamentals as well, the demographics, the location, right? Because you can go, like we were talking earlier before recording, like you can go buy a property in Sudbury, they're cheap, but what are the chances of you flipping and getting a good return on it, right? Because there's all those other things to consider, right?
I think, but like in a market like we're in right now, it's hard not to be able to sell a property right now. I was telling you, I sold my primary residence privately with making one subtle comment on Facebook, and it was like, boom, I sold it for way more than I expected this house was even worth. So I mean, I think in any market, you just need to look. You need to know the comps. You need to find a local realtor in that market, if you don't already have one, and get their opinion. What would a house like this go for if it was modernized? If it was at had a nice brand new kitchen, and it was cleaned up and decluttered? What could you get for it? Like you want to always know. I know some flippers swear by the smallest towns. Like they do good business in small areas because there's less, first of all, less competition to buy, less inventory. This past year, the smaller areas have been booming because people are leaving the bigger centers and bigger cities. And so small towns are doing well, right? So you just never know. So that's half the fun though.
It always fluctuates. For sure. I would love to talk about one of your projects that you said you've done. If you have some of the numbers, I would love to just share that with everyone here.
Sure. Well, I'll share with you one that we're working on right now, because it's almost done.
Sure. Love to take that.
So, and this one is one of the bigger ones that we've done. This is a duplex conversion. It's in Hamilton on the mountain. I bought it this is one of my COVID buys. So I bought this from a wholesaler in 2020. I paid $530 for this house. Okay. Now, like every house that I buy, I always have this I overpaid moment. Every time I buy a house, I'm like, what have I done? I thought I'm crazy. I paid so much money for this house, and especially later when you realize a big chunk went to the wholesaler. The wholesaler made a tidy fee on this one. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
So they did really well. But anyways, $530,000 for this house. This is a 2.5 story in Hamilton, so it's a big house. We are converting it to a duplex, but it's a much bigger duplex than I've done in the past. So each of the 2 units is going to have 2 floors. So the main floor apartment is going to be a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So it's on the main floor, and there's an extra bedroom in the basement and an extra bathroom in the basement. So one bedroom on the main floor plus kitchen, living, dining, laundry, and a bathroom, and then basement, bedroom, bathroom. Okay.
Right.
And then on the second floor and the 3rd floor, because it's like one of these like little lofts up top. We've got 2 bedrooms on the 2nd floor and a 3rd bedroom on the 3rd floor, and then a bath on each of those floors too, bathroom. So it's a kind of a unique property, which is going to get some premium rents. So paid $530,000. We are coming in close to about $200K on this reno and carrying costs.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be in for it for about $730.
730.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. some closing costs on top of that. So you could round it up to like, let's call it like 735 or say 740 land transfer in there and all that.
Yeah, conservative.
Now, so again, through the last several months, I was worried that, oh boy, I paid way too much for this house.
Yeah.
But the market's been going nuts. I saw a bungalow in Hamilton recently, a legal duplex sold for $825, like literally 2 weeks ago. A bungalow. Yeah. So we're talking like a 3-bedroom up bungalow, 2-bedroom down bungalow, right? Just on the mountain, just a very modest 1,100 square foot.
Yeah.
This house, by the way, is about 2,300 square feet, not counting the basement, what I'm just talked about. So I'm pretty sure my value is going to be upwards of, like, I'm glad that there are some comps coming out now at 825 for small legal duplexes.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make a strong case for mine, which has 4 bathrooms.
That's right.
Yeah. 4 bathrooms across both units, lots of parking. Plus, there's upside to convert the attic in the future to a third unit, and so we're probably going to do that down the road when we rezone it. But that'll just lift the value even more. So conservatively, I'm thinking the value of this house is going to be about $850 on the appraisal, which would mean my new mortgage would be somewhere around $680,000, which would mean I'm left in the deal for around $50-ish thousand. Right. So. I'd be pretty happy with that. So, I mean, if I can end up owning an asset that's worth $850,000, that's going to have premium level rents coming out of it. So I'm estimating. I'm already, by the way, advertising for tenants right now. I'm getting a lot of interest. I so far have just posted the main floor 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom unit.
Okay.
At $2,000, so $1,995 plus all utilities.
Okay.
Getting lots of interest for that.
Wow.
Upstairs, I'm probably going to price it at $2,195, I think. So we'll be at about $4,200 in gross rents.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What are the taxes generally?
Taxes are about $350 a month is what I had written down on that one. What is that, like $4,000 or something like that?
Like 4,000, yeah, roughly around 4,000.
Yeah. Insurance, call it $150.
Okay.
So here's the way I look at this one. If I were to bring a JV partner in at this point and get like an amazing rate mortgage at like under 2%,
right?
The mortgage payment alone is going to be about $2,400, $2,500 on this house.
Yeah.
All carrying costs, not counting property management, not counting contingency money for maintenance and vacancies, we'd be around $3,000 in carrying costs. On a property that's going to bring in about $4,200 in gross rent, right? And I think that's conservative, by the way, $4,200.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to cash flow. When I put the buffers in for like maintenance and whatever else, it's probably going to cash flow on paper somewhere around $500, $600 would be my guess.
Right.
If I self-manage it, a little bit more. So.
Yeah, and because you've done a lot of the renovations there, like you said, you pretty much gutted out. You probably won't have a lot of the the maintenance issues coming up unless the roof needs to be done and so forth. So the capex will probably be something good to budget for, but I don't think you necessarily would use it for a while. So
it's going to be low, I think. Because it's got all the new stuff. We did like we put a new mini ductless split for cooling and heating upstairs. I don't expect anything major expense wise, but who knows? You never know, right? But everything else is new, like brand new kitchens, new bathrooms, new appliances. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. So in terms of so again, just putting things in perspective, for $50,000, you're making at least $600 a month. Your house is basically paid off by the tenants. Mortgage is being paid off. Yeah. What's the cash on that, by the way, Dave? Do you know?
I have not run that number, but I mean, if I'm leaving $50K in, that's it's high.
Yeah, I was gonna just say, I'm just gonna take that in my head. That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, but I honestly, and I honestly think 850 is now fairly conservative.
I think you're gonna get at least 900,000 bare minimum.
I mean, it is possible because of the unique nature of this property.
Yeah,
like on the mountain in Hamilton, most of the duplexes are bungalows.
Right.
So this one's unique in that it's a big 2.5 story. It's more of the style of house you see downtown Hamilton. where people do duplexes in them, and a lot of times they throw a third unit in, an illegal unit. I'm actually going to try to get a third unit put in legally,
right?
As kind of a phase 2 on this project. So once we have it rented out, I'm going to begin the process of getting it rezoned for a triplex, so that as soon as in the future when we get a turnover on the upper floor, we will slam a kitchen in upstairs in the loft, because we've already roughed it in. So we slam the kitchen in, and we add a staircase up the back, and now we have a loft on the 3rd floor, and now we have a 2-bedroom main floor, 2-bedroom second floor, 1-bedroom loft. We have a triplex, right? Which would add another, call it $1,000, $1,200 a month cash flow.
Yeah, easily. Wow. So, the third unit would just be like straight cash.
That's just straight cash. Yeah.
That's incredible.
So, and it's a nice space up there. I mean, we'd have to do a minor variance because I think it's a little bit under the 700 square feet minimum requirements in Hamilton. So we'd have to get a minor variance done.
Right.
Plus the rezoning. So there'll be about $10K, I've been told, in like rezoning fees, and so it's about a year process to get through that. So I figured I'm just going to get this thing operational, get it cash flowing, and then parallel path that process once we're kind of operational. And then when the time comes that we can convert that to the triplex, then we'll do it.
Yeah. So, wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, no, for sure. Like based on what you're telling me, from the comps and from what you, a minimum 900. I think that's being conservative. So
I hope so, because then it'd be a perfect BRRRR.
So I was gonna just say you'll be able to pull out every single penny you put on it, and on top of it, cash flow. So are you currently just targeting Belleville? Right? Is that the main area that you're focusing on currently?
So for future, yes, I'm looking more at Belleville right now. So as I mentioned, before we started recording, I am relocating our family sometime later in the summer. We're renovating a house ourselves out that way. Actually, it's closer to Napanee on the river. And so we're renovating that, hoping to move that way in somewhere around August. And then I will continue to kind of do my duplex conversion process in Belleville and maybe Kingston. I mean, like that's kind of why I like where we are going to be relocated. We're about 30 minutes from both Kingston and Belleville.
Yeah, no,
so
great location.
So we flipped to a house in Belleville in December and just bought a bungalow off market. Like literally this month, going to be there this week actually to meet up with the designer. So we're going to start that process now. But I've been putting in quite a few offers in Belleville, but like other markets, it's just very hot. A lot of people buying in Belleville right now too. So I'm going to start looking for more off market.
When you go to a new market, right? How are you sourcing these contractors? How are you sourcing or building your team?
The most important way that I do it is through word of mouth referrals, right? So in any new market that I'm in, I'm always just looking at who are other people using, right? So, there's just so many good networking groups, Facebook groups, follow key people on Instagram, see what they're doing, reach out to them, have a conversation with them. Like this community is so much around networking with other like-minded investors and just ask them questions, right? Sometimes you might have to pay for some of that advice.
Right.
I've done that. I've paid people like for an hour of their time to pick their brain a little bit and ask who are you using for getting your drawings done? Who are you using for a contract? And normally they're going to tell you, right? So that's the key thing. I mean, you can also just go start like hunting on your own through, Kijiji, or hire a contractor through Indeed or something like that.
Right.
But if there's somebody that's already doing the work and that other people are saying they do good work, I'd probably start there, right? Yeah. Get a good word of mouth referral.
You've primarily been just focusing on conversions, right? Why not just buy multi-family properties that are already ready to go? And maybe just need some lipstick renovations. Have you ever considered that as a strategy?
Yeah, I have. I've looked at some. Right now, I kind of like the duplex model. I mean, I like the tenant profile. I like the process. I like houses, right? I don't necessarily. So I looked at the odd 4-plex, 6-plex, and I don't. There's just something about the tenant profile that I like better about being in a house. I feel like it's more relatable to like what I can see myself living in. It's it's pretty low maintenance working with that type of tenant with the property. So for now, I feel like I'm going to continue doing that model because it's kind of it's keep repeating the process. It's boring. It works. Maybe at some point I will buy myself a 12-plex or a 24-plex. I don't know. But right now, I don't really have aspirations to do so, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Because I'm noticing that, especially as people are progressing and the portfolio gets bigger, they are now leaning more towards bigger and bigger properties because, they rather have one roof versus 12 roofs, right? Just as a saying goes. It is true, right? Because you do increase your cash flow. And especially in your case, I'm not sure if it was going to work in favor or against. I think it works in your favor because it's a commercial policy, right? It's going to be a commercial lending.
So that is the only reason why I've started looking into it now is because it is a lot easier.
That's right.
It's not easy, but it's possible to get a mortgage,
right?
Even in my current state of employment, because they look at the asset, not just me as the borrower, right?
That's right.
So, but that's not to say you can't still do things like that. Like you can get commercial mortgages as a blanket across multiple duplexes, right? So you could package up, let's say 3 duplexes and go to a commercial lender and say, I have, 6 doors here that I'm looking for commercial financing on. And so that's also a possibility. And I might go down that path at some point. Right now, I really haven't had the need to. But it's a possibility.
For somebody who's looking to start out, what are some top 3 books you can recommend?
Well, obviously the classic Rich Dad Poor Dad. Everybody needs to read that one if they haven't already. Like there is no better book that I've read, at least, that kind of was just so clearly written and just kind of made everything like, this makes sense to me.
That's right.
I read this one in the past 2 years or maybe 18 months. This one, amazing. Especially since we're just to kind of talk more about the private lending thing, like this book, it really opened my eyes to what you can, how you can tap into other people's, investments people that are not really necessarily thinking how can they maximize the return on their investment. They're just like parking their money in RSPs. I read that and it was like an eye opener for me. And I actually have since worked with a few people and deployed their RSPs into real estate. So I did it all myself with the investor and with a lawyer.
Right.
And books like that kind of just open your eyes, right? And there was another one I read. I don't think I have it up there.
Yeah. So the one you were just referring to is called the RSP Secret. And actually,
the RSP Secret. The RSP Secret. This was another awesome book.
Getting the Money.
Getting the Money.
Hey.
By Susan Lassiter Lyons. So this just talks about how raising private money, right? So remember I told you about I started raising my own kind of capital. Like that's again a very clear, simple way to think about it. It's not rocket science. It just kind of gives you some tips on how to frame up the conversation with coworkers, friends, family members. And I'll tell you, there's money to be raised out there, right? Because
for sure,
you can create really strong win-win relationships where you borrow some money from somebody, give them a nice interest payment, which they can then use to cover their car payment. For example, they've given me funds that I can now finish a renovation on one of my projects. So I can get to my exit strategy and then sell the property or whatever, or refinance that property, get the money back, give it back to the lender. And then, by the way, when that happens, 9 times out of 10, the lender says, can I lend that back to you again? Because they like that interest payment, right? Just like I told you, I do. I'm also private lending, right? I don't want to stop because it's my income in a way, right? So anyways, that was an awesome book too, because it just kind of helped change the mindset a bit around being confident in presenting what you're doing, being confident in sharing a deal, a strategy. There are a lot of people in your circle of friends, in your networks, that are interested in what you're doing. Maybe they haven't all wanted to chat with you about it yet, but they're interested, they're watching, they're curious.
Absolutely.
So when the opportunity comes up and you talk to them about it, always just say, hey, I'm always raising capital for deals. So I've started doing that. People say, tell me more. I'm like, oh, sure. So yeah. So anyways, that's another good one. Anyway, there's lots of good books. But
Yeah, no,
Stefan Arnio's books are all good too. Yeah.
that's fantastic. No, those are good tips. Yeah, we'd love to learn those as well. Yeah, because one of the things all of hurdles we run into is running out of money, right? So you have to get to the point where, like you said, either go JV partner or raising capital funds or going private lending. So there's definitely, let's put it this way, you find a deal, the money's there. There's this all sorts of ways you can get the money. Finding a deal is the toughest part. Find a deal, you'll get the money, one way or another.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree with that. I mean, to me, the most challenging thing I have right now is finding deals. Right. Money is available, and like I said earlier, around the broker, basically telling me, you can buy what you want. We'll fund it for you. Because we know you're kind of looking in the right areas. We like the fundamentals. So there's money. It's like, how do you find the deals? Like that's the challenge, right? So anyways, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then if you could travel anywhere, I know obviously you can't travel now, but hopefully when COVID lifts, if you could go anywhere, where would it be, Scott, and why?
Oh man. I'm going to say nothing too crazy and exotic. Turks and Caicos. And I have been there once, about a year ago. Yeah, 2 years ago we went. And it was phenomenal. I desperately want to go back. It's just such a great island, just chill beaches. It's not like a crazy resort environment. Just awesome. So, there are other places of course I want to travel to, but right now, just being cooped up for so long and not being able to get out this winter, that's just on my mind.
Absolutely. We'd love to get some sun on your skin and feel the nice sandy beach. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that one.
Exactly. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and then if there's one piece of advice you could give somebody, whether it's somebody who's already a real estate investor or someone looking into getting into the, investing, what would that be? One piece of advice?
I always just say, like, it's don't be afraid to like just get in and give it a try, like to learn. It's like do something, right? Like if you've made a conscious decision that you want to start taking some action and doing something, then don't worry too much about making a massive mistake. Like just take an action, and that could just be like, what's the next step for you? Maybe you have to get pre-approved for a mortgage. Maybe you need to attend a real estate meetup. Like do something to kind of get your creativity, those juices flowing.
Absolutely.
Because it's really easy to fall into a trap of doing nothing.
Yeah.
And thinking about it a lot. Yeah. So do something, and don't be afraid to fail. Because real estate's forgiving. You can usually figure out an exit strategy. Just don't. Just talk to people. Don't make a stupid purchase. Like don't overpay for. But even if you do,
it had to be said.
Even if you do, like you can get out of it, right? I did buy one property that I regretted a little bit. Like I always felt like I paid too much for it, and that's the one I mentioned earlier on. It was the non-legal duplex that I had.
Right.
I still made money on it at the end of the day when I sold it.
Yeah.
But it was one that I paid. It was at the top of the market when I bought it. And the market then kind of flattened out a bit. I was around the 2017, 2018 spike that we saw, and then it kind of leveled. But you know what? I still did fine, right? And I learned a lot from that house, and and I still made money at the end of the day. So
yeah, as long as you can weather the storm, real estate will make you money at the end of the day, right? It's a matter of how can you hold on to it. And in your case, right, it paid off, right? The market picked back up. But that's what I love about real estate. You're absolutely right. It's very forgiving. And especially because you have so many exit strategies, I would say. For majority of us, whenever you purchase a property, there's so many things you can do. Short-term rentals, long-term rentals, buy and hold, flip, wholesaling, sell it privately, wholesale, whatever you want. There's so many avenues you can take. So definitely take action. Still
read the book, still listen to the podcast, but do that while you're doing something along, just to advance the projects forward. So yeah.
For folks that want to connect with you, Scott, how could they connect with you?
I would say Instagram and or Facebook, both places. You can just look up my name, Scott Zandbergen. You'll find me on either platform. I try to share, a little bit about what I'm up to and projects and whatever else. But feel free to connect with me there. DM me. Always happy to have a chat.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely put all your handles in the show notes for folks that want to connect with you. But thank you so much, Scott. This has been wonderful. We've been trying to connect for some time, and I'm glad you found some time in your calendar. So this has been awesome, and I'm sure listeners got a lot of golden nuggets out of it. So really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you were able to get some great golden nuggets out of it. The kindest thing that you could do is share this podcast across all social media to help as many people as possible. If you like this podcast or have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or YouTube. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Remember, financial freedom is just a few properties away.